The next selector we want to talk about is what we call attributes. So attribute selectors. Okay, so attribute selectors. What are attribute selectors? These are selectors that target elements based on attributes and the value they have. Okay, so let's give an example here. Let's give an example here. So let's say we have an input tag. Inside this input tag, we now have an attribute called type. Okay, and say equal to maybe let's say text. Okay, so in this case, okay, so let's do this. Let's say we have an attribute. This is not a CSS interpretation, so let's write an input tag. So here is it. Here's an input tag. So what we want to do, look at this now. If I type in here, look at what happens. Okay, on a normal, yeah, that's what happens. So what I want to do now, I want to select this attribute called type. Okay, I want to select this attribute called type from our CSS page and then run some styles on it. So instead of me making use of this, what's it called now? This element name, which is the type name. Okay, instead of me selecting like that, I don't want to select like that because sometimes in here you can have other attributes. Okay, like placeholder. So let's say our placeholder is enter. Okay, so look at it now. Enter. So what I want to do now, I will now come in and say, I want to select our tag name, which is input. But because I want to select the attribute inside the input tag, so I'll make use of this. Okay, and then I'll now type type equals to say text. Okay, so followed by curly brackets. So what do I want to do? I want to change the border. I say, okay, let's give it a 2 pixel line. I want to make it solid and then make the color red. Alright, so next selector I want to talk about is what we call the pseudo classes selector. Pseudo classes selectors are, so let's say I have so let's say I have an h3 and then I have this text inside it. So what does the pseudo classes do? It actually target element is a specific state. Okay, an element is like this. Now we want it to be like this. So that's the state of the element, the position of the element. So take for example, I have the element that I created, which is h3. So let's say for h3, this is the state. The state happens to be the color of the state is let's say red. Okay. Now, if I want to now apply, I want to try to change the state of this element. Okay, just for a moment. Okay, so what do I do? All I need to do is just apply a pseudo class to it, and there are so many of them. So I will just talk briefly about it here. And in the next class, we'll talk more of them. So what I'll do is, I want to now say, okay, for a pseudo class, I want to say when I hover, that is when I place my mouse on this element, that's the meaning of over. When I hover on it, when I shake my mouse on it, I want the color to quickly change to maybe green. Okay, look at what happens. So these are basically the works of pseudo classes. Okay, so when I hover on it, okay, I can also say when I hover on it, I want the font size to quickly, the state of the font size quickly move to maybe 30. So look at what happens. Okay. We'll be using more of this in the comment classes. So Okay, so these are just examples of pseudo classes. We also have what we call pseudo elements. Pseudo elements. So these are kinds of elements that allows you to do some certain styles, okay, in parts of the element. So when you now take or apply selector to it, so you are trying to select or style specific parts of an element, okay. Um, so let's, for example, let's make this now. So the difference between the pseudo class and the pseudo element is just that for a pseudo class, it only uses one color, okay, just one color. But for a pseudo element, it uses double color. So, for this, I can say for first letter, okay, so let's look at what happens. So, pseudo element allows you to touch some specific parts of a particular element, while a pseudo class talks about the states of the entire element. So, take note. We'll talk more about these ones as we progress in this our class. So, we just know, just trying to tell you how these selections can be done. But sometimes you say you get to a point where you want to just pick the first letter. Okay, so there are different ways this can be done, but the best thing is that you're always looking for the better way, okay, the most simplest way for it to be done. So, for example, if you want to do this, you use the pseudo elements to achieve. So, what we've just done is to say, okay, we want to select this first letter, and then we now give it properties and value, what we intend to achieve on that. So basically, these are all that we need to do here. Okay. So these are basically all that we need to know and all that we need to achieve. And that is what we've achieved. So let's run through a small example of all that we have done. So let's run through a small example of all that we've done. So let me write out some codes. CSS selector. And I want to add a paragraph. So in this paragraph, I want to add links, CSS selectors. And I want to add another paragraph. Call this is a paragraph for learning. Okay, so let's go to our CSS. Remember, you need to create CSS pages on the page, then ensure that they are linked together. Alright, so first, let's make a comment. So let's use our universal selector. So for universal selector, okay, so we say asterisk. I want to create a margin, call it 0, and a padding, and also call it 0. So what we simply achieved here is to say when we talk about margin, we're talking about spaces before the text or before the element on the page. And when you're talking about padding, you're talking about the space inside the element. We'll talk about this more as we progress in the class. So what we've done is to say for margin, anywhere there's a space, okay, at the margin, whether left or right or bottom, okay, I want that space to be 0. So take off whatever space that you have there. The same thing with your, okay. So next, type of selector. So I want to comment this one out. So for type of selector, selecting elements according to its type. So H1, paragraph, div, just by its name. Okay. So what do we have here? We have an H1. Okay, so that's a type of selector. So we'll say text align. We want it to be center. Then also we'll give this a color. Maybe we'll give it a color, maybe color.